Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
I named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints.
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is a very clever girl. Frank, how are you today?
Hold on to your butts. Frank's here.
Frank, I hear your favorite meal is chili and sea bass, I believe. Oh goodness, I'm doing well, Frank. How are you?
I'm doing all right. As well as can be expected these days.
Oh yes, indeed, indeed. Crazy days with dinosaurs roaming around.
That's right.
I mean, yeah, you have to be careful when you go out. You know, you got to have little flares and bits of meat at any, throw them away from you.
Strategically placed, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Strategically placed
Right.
pieces of meat and flares.
Yes.
So, but thank goodness all their vision is based on movement, Frank, not just the T-Rex there's a lot of ways I could have opened this episode. I could have been, whose vision based on movement, Frank. I could have done that. I could have done.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some good stuff, Frank. But anyway, let's talk about beer first. What are you drinking this fine day?
Well, I am enjoying a beer from Baxter Brewing Company. I know I've had a few of them. We've talked about the Stowaway IPA and a few others. And today I am enjoying their Staycation Land.
Ooh. That is basically what you're doing.
This is true. Staycation Land. It is a brilliant lager. It's just like it's a classic lager. It's crisp. It's clean. It's got all the things you want out of a good old fashioned lager. And I have really been enjoying it. They redid their art, the cans. Recently, they redesigned them all, and they look really, really cool. I really like the new looks of all their cans. So yeah, enjoying that quite a bit. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a beer from the Revival Brewing Company, which we visited not too long. Well, actually, quite a long time ago now that I think about it. But anyway, this is called a Clever Chica. It's a Paloma-Style sour ale, right? Clever, and the can is a Velociraptor solving a Rubik's Cube.
Look at that! Oh my gosh.
Frank, I'm going to crack this open in honor of hashtag Jurassic June.
Hey, there you go.
Which Jurassic Park premiered 27 years ago.
Wow.
In June. And as did many of I think Jurassic World was 5 years ago. I know Lost World came out in May. It was Memorial Day weekend, but that's close enough. But anyway, June is Jurassic month. Ooh, that's good beer, too.
Jurassic June. I like it.
Wow, that is delicious.
Yeah? Is this your first time trying it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. That's not so sour that you you feel you just got punched in the mouth.
Oh man, I know that feeling. Yeah, I am a little hesitant about sours. I definitely I'm hesitant to buy one at the store, like to buy a 4-pack or a 6-pack. I'll try one on tap, but especially if they'll give me like a sample of it first. Sour is not a flavor profile that I'm tremendously fond of, with exceptions. Like I love sour candies, like Sour Patch Kids and Warheads and that kind of stuff. But sour beers, not so much my cup of tea, my glass of beer. So yeah, but I do like one that is on the milder side, that kind of hints with the sour profile, but doesn't kind of isn't overwhelmingly so.
Gotcha. This is, it said on the side, this is a sidekick to our clever girl. This Chica is dry hopped and also made with delectable pink grapefruit and oak chips soaked in mezcal. Hold on to your butts. The party doesn't start until Chica walks in.
And soaked in mezcal. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very good. I looked up the clever girl is also a Paloma-Style sour ale. It's just a different iteration.
I like that. The grapefruit, that's all very, very interesting.
I could definitely taste the grapefruit. It is really there.
Yeah.
Which is solid. Yeah, I really like this. This was a pick six kind of variety, so I tend not to also get, I don't want a 6-pack of sour because
Right.
Because it's refreshing, but it's also, by the end you're like, I'm full and I need a glass of water.
Right.
So that's a sour for you. But Frank, considering that it is Jurassic June and I'm drinking my themed beer, which I haven't had such a great themed beer like this in a long time.
It's been a minute.
Maybe the dark side. I had a dark side beer when we did Star Wars, actually.
That's true.
But anyway, Frank, we're here to talk about all the Jurassic movies, right? There's 5 of them plus a short film, which I don't know if have you ever seen the short film?
I don't think I have, actually, come to think of it.
Battle at Big Rock. It takes place after Fallen Kingdom, and it's like 10 minutes, and it's great.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. I did see this. But this was 2 years ago, last year?
2 years ago, last year, something like that. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was great. I really enjoyed it because I love some dinosaurs, Frank. As of course I've said many. Yeah.
You do love dinosaurs. You really love dinosaurs.
Yeah, not in oh no, I love flowers. No, that's not a weird excuse. I don't really care about flowers.
Screw flowers. Flowers suck.
Yeah, flowers are terrible. They're just everywhere. No, they're fine. No, I'm trying to think of something. Somebody says like, oh yeah, I love that. But they don't. They just like it. Or they like it a lot, but not love. Like, I love dinosaurs, I think, the way that I love Batman and Star Wars.
Wow. Yeah, I know. You really, I like dinosaurs. I loved dinosaurs when I was a kid, as every, young kid, I feel like, goes through that phase of enjoying them to that extent. But
yes,
you love dinosaurs.
Yeah. Yeah, so much so that my wife, for my birthday, it got canceled because of COVID, but she got us tickets to go see Jurassic World live.
Oh, that would have been cool.
That was going to be my birthday present, but it got canceled for obvious reasons.
Yes,
and
because the dinosaurs were going to eat us.
Because the dinosaurs were going to eat us because they were real, as far as I know.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Absolutely. But anyway, Frank, I have spent the month of June rewatching all the Jurassic Park films, all the Jurassic. I almost refuse to call them the Jurassic World films, even though.
No, it's the franchise is still Jurassic Park, right? That's in my heart.
Technically, it's actually the Jurassic World franchise.
Yeah, I know, but in my heart, it's always the Jurassic Park.
Oh, sure, it is the Jurassic Park franchise.
Yeah, whatever they call it.
As titles go, in the schema of the way the narrative and the story flows in all 5 films plus a short film, Jurassic World makes more sense.
Sure, the world is more all-encompassing than the park. I get that.
Right. Jurassic Park is but only the first one. They never even go back to that. They don't even go back to the original park until Jurassic World. So, it takes 2 other films to get there. Anyway, Frank, do you remember seeing Jurassic Park at all? Did you see it in theaters? I think you would have been a little young to see it in theaters.
I was a little young to see it in theaters, but I do remember, I think we watched it, in school. One of those, it's the last couple days of the school year, and the teachers are like, we're basically done. We just have to all be here now, so... all right, which movie do you want to watch? You have your choice. Let's show of hands. And I think we watched Jurassic Park, and I liked it, but I was probably under the age of 10, and so I wasn't really primed to fully enjoy it.
Sure.
Not that I couldn't fully enjoy it, but I couldn't appreciate the the science behind it and all that kind of stuff, right? To me, it was just like, yay, cool, dinosaurs are running around and tearing stuff up.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember then in my like tween years, like getting into it. I think I've talked about like how I would go to the library and get VHS tapes out of the library, and I think I took out the entire trilogy. Maybe not. No, the third one probably wasn't out yet, but I took out at least the first two from the library and watched them. And thoroughly enjoyed them.
Third one was 2001, 2002, something like that.
Okay, so then it must have been out by then. For some reason, in my mind, it was earlier than that. So yeah, there you go. So I guess I had seen all three at once, and there was a very noticeable decline.
There sure is, Frank. Wow, there sure is. I mean, I watched them all. I watched the first three with like that kid nostalgia lens. Yeah. But if you really remove that, I wouldn't call it a sharp decline, but it's definitely like the first one is a 4 or 5 star film. It's really well crafted across the board. Everything about it is engaging from start to finish. It's deeper than the material like deserves, because it's Spielberg. Like Spielberg. It could just be a movie about dinosaurs that get loose on an island, but it really is so much more, and the movie leans into that. 2 and 3 really forget that.
Yeah,
3 skirts around it a little. 3 skirts around it a little bit, but those movies are definitely more about like, oh, dinosaurs are loose. That's what those movies are about. They're about the spectacle. And not about the metaphor or the allegory.
Yes, they lean more into the action and the spectacle. They are absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, there's only like I want to say it's like 7 minutes of dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. It's like something so minuscule that like you wouldn't be like, no, really 7 minutes? Like it's either 7 or 14. I might have to double that, but in a 2-hour movie,
right?
14 minutes is not a lot if you really think about it.
He took the Jaws approach.
He did take the Jaws approach, but with a way that like he almost like wished he could have done something with Jaws, right? Because Jaws he literally had to cut around the shark because the shark didn't work,
right?
But he made a lot of it in the computer. But what works about Jurassic Park as a special effect icon is that it literally changed how we make movies now, because everyone said, oh, this is how movies how do you do this? Because it was really one of the first of its kind, like really feature length, as much CG as there is in that film, not just like a scene and it's obviously a computer, like it changed the game. There's a story, I can't remember who tells it, but like going to see Jurassic Park in theaters, and when the T-Rex escapes and is like swishing the guy back and forth, the lawyer back and forth on the toilet, and the guy stood up in the theater and yelled, how the F did they do that? Just because like it just looks so real. Even now.
I was going to say a lot of it still holds up pretty well.
It does. Some of it, not so much. Some of it starts to look like the special editions of Star Wars: A New Hope, when like a dinosaur just strolls or like an alien strolls into the frame and strolls out. Sometimes it looks a little bit like that, but there's so much animatronic use from Stan Winston and co. inside the first Jurassic Park that it still is. It's kind of like Jaws in that it's still engaging. There are very few moments in Jaws where you're like, ooh, that's bad.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Most of it's still very strong.
I think of the original Jurassic Park as being sort of this golden age of the CG had like was starting to come of age. Certainly the practical effects stuff was well established at this point, right? ILM had been around for 15, almost 20 years at this point, and they were doing like the best work. So you had this amazing, like, filmmakers like Spielberg had these two choices that were like equally viable, right? Like, I'm either going to do this, some effects will be practical, some effects will be digital, and you'll never really know what's what because they're both so good.
That's right.
And that's there's some sentiment of wanting to bring that back to some extent in Hollywood, mostly because of fan outcry though, and not because like here's how I prefer to make a movie.
That is correct. But
right?
that combo is more expensive. Like practical effects
for sure
have reached the point where it is more expensive to do it practically than it is to do it in a computer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was watching. Actually, it's funny because I was watching. It was either World or Fallen Kingdom, and I was looking at like some of the raptor shots and things. I was like, this is like very obviously CG. Because of the way it's shot, the way they're moving, because they move more like animals than people inside suits, and like whatever, the things like that. But I say but I'm looking at it and I'm like, but I'm not. The terror isn't as real because I know they're not real. They're not in the frame. They're actually not responding to anything. The actors aren't responding to anything, and it removes. Even if it creates a nice-looking shot, it removes some of the abject terror that you feel inside the first Jurassic Park movie or the second one or whatever, because when Laura Dern's character is like, Mr. Hammond, I think we're back in business, and the raptor, comes through the wires. That's a real terror, even from her, because a real raptor head pokes itself out through the wires, and you just don't really get that anymore. And that's kind of the fault of the rest of the series, except for Park, because there are actually tons of practical effects inside of World and Fallen Kingdom. The other side is that like the animatronics are so good now, and the CG is so good, you actually think it's CG because you just assume that all things are created in the computer now,
right?
And now it's just so good you can't tell.
Yeah. And
that creates its own set of issues when feeling for a movie. But Park is definitely the best one. But in my rewatch, I surprised myself in realizing that Jurassic World is actually the next best one.
I love Jurassic World. I do. I really, really was impressed with it when I first saw it. And they had... they had to do a good job with it. They had to do a good job with it to bring this franchise back.
That's
and
right.
I think that Trevorrow nailed it.
I think so too. And what is great about World that is promptly not ignored, but like kind of brushed aside in Lost World and JP3, is that it is about the genetic fabrication of monsters and like the commercialism of the world, and like how people are not impressed by things that they should be impressed by anymore. There's they talk about the Indominus Rex, like he's not really a real dinosaur. He's a bunch of different, or she's a bunch of different dinosaurs together. And Owen, Chris Pratt's character, is like, what do you mean? Wow, like dinosaurs? That's enough. Like, that should be enough. Dinosaurs, but it's not. And even for it, but it's speaking to the audience as much as it's speaking to the people inside the world, and that's what I really like about it.
100%. Because it's a movie that has something to say, right? Like, it's an action movie, it's a horror movie, it's a monster movie, but it has something to say, where I don't know that JP3 really has something to say.
Well, part of that is because the movie got rewritten a bazillion times, and it was rewritten a week before they started filming.
Yeah, okay.
It's one of those movies like, what's the story? We'll figure it out in post. It's one of those movies. It wasn't until a week or 2 weeks before that Steven Spielberg was like, no, you have to make this movie like a survival mission, like go get the kid and get out. That the whole point of the movie 2 weeks before they started filming.
That's
so
how you know
because at that point it was like, I just put dinosaurs in it, people will go see it, and you're like, that's nope, it. You're missing the point.
And that's the like cash grabby sequel mentality that I think audiences we can see through it. Like, we can see through it. Maybe it's still enjoyable. Maybe it's still fun. Like, yeah, it's still fun to watch dinosaurs run around, but it's not as satisfying as a movie that has something to say, that has a point of view, that has a story it's trying to tell, that the writer, director, producer combo, any number of those people actually have some feeling and investment in.
That's right. And that's a movie, some people put blame on Joe Johnston for that, but Joe Johnston is like the hero of Hollywood because he comes in to projects. His job in Hollywood is to come into projects that are late and they have no idea what they're doing, and he looks at everything and goes, "Okay, this is how you make a movie and still make money." And then he makes it. Like, he does it all the time. All the time. Like, he did it with Jurassic Park 3. He did it with The Wolfman. Like, this is just like, people are like, okay, this movie is going to be made no matter what. Get Joe Johnston because the movie starts in a week. And he's like able to come in and like somehow make a movie that's watchable.
It's an incredible talent he has.
It is an incredible talent. And so I do not put blame at the feet of Joe Johnston for that because I think he did come in late to that movie as well. I do think that Jurassic World does something, not Jurassic World, Jurassic Park 3 does something interesting in that it actually does try to slightly incorporate more real science into some of the dinosaurs because, like, a lot of paleontologists, like Alan Grant, Sam Neill's character is based on a real paleontologist, Jack Horner, who was also the paleontologist supervisor for all the Jurassic Park movies. And they utilize him less and less. He said he did an interview a year or two ago, and he was like, "Yeah, they didn't really ask a lot of questions by the time they got to Fallen Kingdom because they were like, yeah, it's close enough." And
I picture like in Jurassic Park, they're like, he's there and he's telling them, "No, this would work this way and that would work that way." And then we get to Fallen Kingdom, and they're like, "Is this hat good? Is this the kind of hat you would wear?" Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah, good. This is the kind of hat a velociraptor would wear, right? And he's like, "Actually, velociraptors were actually really small." And
I just need you to sign this. I just need you to sign off. I just need your initials. That's really all. I don't really care about the answer.
JH, just do it. Do it now, Jackie boy. So he lost my train of thought. So Alan Grant, real paleontologist, velociraptors, small. Oh, so
there was more science in it.
Yeah. So Steven Spielberg, when talking to Jack Horner about like what dinosaurs should look like in the first film and everything, and he was like, like a lot of dinosaurs we believe then they didn't really know, but now we know, like a lot of dinosaurs had feathers, because they're like, Jurassic Park is like on the frontier of telling people that dinosaurs are more birds than lizards. That was actually a wild concept in the world of paleontology when Jurassic Park came out, and now that's what they are. They were birds. They were different birds, and they were somewhere between like warm and cold-blooded animals. So a lot of them had feathers, and they're not just like
lukewarm-blooded.
Lukewarm-blooded, right? Exactly. And so, and not just feathers like you would see on like a robin, but like more like feathers like you'd see on like a penguin. Like that down kind of feather that almost looks like fur. And so, so Jack Horner was like, they probably had feathers, and Steven Spielberg was like, yeah, but that's not scary. And which is true.
It's true.
Which is absolutely true. But I give Jurassic Park 3 credit for like trying to incorporate some of that stuff, like the raptors. They gave the little like spindle things on top of their head, like that, a little bit more accurate. But I give Jurassic World the most credit for Dr. Wu for being like, these were never real dinosaurs. You didn't ask for real dinosaurs. These are monsters that you think are dinosaurs.
Right.
And I love that. One, I love that they like took his character, this like this throwaway character from Jurassic Park, and like, oh no, but he's one, the genius, and two, also kind of a bad guy.
Yeah.
That was
I
smart.
love it. I love it. Yes, that was smart. That was a great way to sort of spin it and be like, these are not real dinosaurs, but who cares?
Right.
It sort of sets a new path for the franchise moving forward.
That's right. Universal has been actually very clear about this next one coming out. Jurassic World Dominion is not the last Jurassic World film. They're like, oh no, like we're gonna keep. Well, one, probably because Universal doesn't have too many franchises to which they can make a lot of money. But like, why stop? What's the point?
Why stop?
If you have a good story to tell, why stop?
Yeah.
Because I think Jurassic World is a franchise that's really built around. It's built around ethical questions and dinosaurs. It's not really built around its characters the same, like its human characters the same way. I love Dr. Grant. I love Malcolm. I like Dr. Sattler and Hammond and Owen and all these different characters. But it's about the dinosaurs.
It's more about the dinosaurs. You can keep this going for a long time and continue to change out the human characters over a long period of time. Slowly, gradually change out human characters. But as long as you have those ethical questions and the dinosaurs, you've got the formula essentially. You know, the thing that I enjoy about it is the ethical questions piece of it, and the dinosaurs are cool to boot. But I like the sort of Roddenberry-esque, like, let's talk about philosophy and ethics and let's use dinosaurs to do it.
That's right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. This is like, it's genre fiction at its best. It's like Asimov. Let's talk about real serious things, or it's like Herbert and Dune, or even Shelley and Frankenstein. This is what Mary Shelley was doing. She created science fiction to raise, I mean, she didn't purposely do it this way, but, you know, like, but creating this genre, she created something that, like, let's take something that could be silly, like absolutely silly and dumb, and let's make it scary and ethical and amoral, and like let's ask those really serious questions through fiction.
Yes.
So we can digest them without getting crisis fatigue.
Yes.
Or, you know, and I think Fallen Kingdom does a bit of that too. Like there's this whole hearing like of like, you know, the island's going to explode, you know, because of the volcano and blah, blah, blah. And people are like, do we save them or do we not save the dinosaurs? Like, they were extinct, and we brought them back. Like, should we just let them die because this was our bad?
Right.
You know? And through the course of it, you know, they like, spoilers, but, you know, like, they get out into the world because the kid lets them out, and they're alive, like me, which is a bigger ethical thing because she's also a clone of a person, which is, you know, like, that's it's so funny in a world that like dinosaurs are back and you can make them out of a gene code from a mosquito and blah blah blah, all this stuff. A human clone child feels like a stretch.
I know. Somehow that feels like a stretch.
Even though there shouldn't be a stretch there at all, like literally not at all. There's no stretch. In fact, it's probably easier. Like, because you scientifically cannot bring back dinosaurs from mosquitoes. I'm sorry. DNA only lasts fossilized for about 6 million years. So we're about 60 million years off from it not working.
Oops.
Oops, indeed, Frank.
Unless it's frozen in super amber, carbonite amber.
Carbonite amber, right. It's in the Phantom Zone, Frank.
Yeah, yes, that's in the Phantom. Time just different there. It's not the same.
Wimbly nimbly.
Yes.
Strange inside the Phantom Zone.
Oh man. Did you talk about your first time seeing it? I realized that I talked about it, but I don't know if we ever heard your story.
I think I've said it on the podcast before,
Maybe
but I'll
you
tell you
have.
again because it's a good story. I was 5 years old, Frank. And when I was 5, all I wanted to be was a paleontologist. In some ways, I still want to be a paleontologist, except that I'm bad at chemistry. So a degree in science, it's not going to happen. But anyway, I will live vicariously through other people. So anyway, I loved dinosaurs. I still love dinosaurs. So there's a dinosaur adorning the desk next to me.
There you go.
There it is.
Is that Indominus Rex?
It is this is the Indoraptor from Fallen Kingdom. I do not have an Indominus Rex, but I do have. I'll move the computer so you can see them. I have, if you can see up there, I have Dr. Malcolm waving his flare with the T-Rex, the Stegosaurus, and the Raptor.
Nice.
Good stuff. But Frank, anyway, so I wanted to see this movie more than anything in the world because I love dinosaurs, and I knew nothing of ethical questions. I don't even think at 5 years old I knew the word ethical.
Sure.
So, in fact, I don't even know if I know it now. So, my brother and I convinced my mom to take us because she was a softie, and my mom kind of likes this stuff. And my dad was like, I will stay home with your sister and teach her how to potty train. There's a wonderful video of my sister learning to potty train while we're seeing Jurassic Park in theaters. It's glorious. Not that anybody listening to us needs to know that, and my sister would be mortified if she knew, but she doesn't listen to this, so it's okay.
That's what she gets.
That's what she gets. But anyway, so we went to go see the movie in theater. The movie theater I still go to movie Thursdays, actually.
Oh, nice.
It's the same theater, same ballroom. And same Jurassic ballroom. And I remember where we were all sitting. It was my brother and then my mom and me on the aisle. And my mom got so scared of the opening raptor scene that she like flew back too quickly and the seat kind of broke. I think she like broke the little handle and she like was gripping my arm, and I'm 5 and I'm like, Mom, let go. Like, calm down. They're not real. Very practical child. And so the movie's going along great. Mr. DNA, where did you come from? From your blood. And then my teacher told me about another one, and then, chaos is, here I am sitting in a car talking to myself. That's chaos theory. And, it's going and going and going and going. And then the T-Rex breaks out of the pen, right? And it's sound of a baby elephant, doing its thing. And I think Ben Burt actually is the sound designer on Jurassic Park. Fun fact, we love Ben Burt around here. And so the T-Rex comes down and looks at the kids in the car. Pupil dilates and it moves back up, right before he attacks the car. My brother turns to my mom and goes, Mom, we have to leave now. And she goes, no, no, like it'll be okay. My mom who just gripped my arm out of existence, from being scared of and he's like, no, we have to leave now. And she's like, no, it's okay. So he stands up in the middle of the theater, pronounces to everyone, Mom, we have to leave now. Except this is before he had his tonsils and adenoids out, so it was more like, Mom, we have to leave now. So stuffy. And so we left to appease my older brother, who got scared, and I never got to see Jurassic Park in the theater.
Oh,
like when I was right before the dinosaurs showed up, basically.
Yeah,
and they were ripped from me, from my existence on screen. I did see it on the big screen when it was re-released for the 3D edition.
Oh, good.
My brother declined to go, still scared.
Well,
so, what are you going to do? But I mean, and I saw the rest of them in theaters, but I will forever remember that. I wrote an essay about it in high school. I don't remember what it was about exactly, but it was for my sophomore year. And that teacher had my brother or knew of my brother anyway. And he just thought it was the funniest thing. Just the best. It was the best. Except that it was the worst. So anyway, so that was my scene. Right, so
cool. Glad to drudge up that memory.
Yeah, no, I think about it every time I watch the movie. It's one of my earliest memories. I was 5 years old. I absolutely remember sitting there and where we were and how far down the aisle, and it is indelibly marked inside. Of me.
I do remember that story. You have told the story in the podcast. I just didn't remember which movie it went with. So that's there. You go.
Yeah, it was Jurassic Park.
There you go.
Good stuff. Frank, before we go, I have a definitive ranking for these movies. I don't know if you do, because I just watched them.
Yeah, it's a little fuzzy for me because I have not seen 2 or 3 in a long time. But I'm very eager to hear yours.
My definitive rankings surprised me a little bit, but not so much that I was like, wow, that came out of left field. Because I had just, obviously watched them in succession. So it's Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, and then Battle at Big Rock I threw in there just because it's good fun. It actually kind of really synthesizes a lot of what Jurassic Park is about in 10 minutes, which is good. It doesn't really raise the ethical questions of the science questions, but it is Jurassic Park at its best is also about people learning to what it means to be family and to relying on one another. And Jurassic Park is about Alan Grant learning to be a dad and how he acts, and then Lost World is about Malcolm learning to be a dad, and then Jurassic Park 3 drops that ball completely, and so whatever. So it's Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, Battle at Big Rock, Lost World, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, and Jurassic Park 3. That's where it actually I really thought Fallen Kingdom would be my least favorite, even though I like all of them. I even for their sins, I enjoy them quite a bit. But I think the story is just a little bit more cohesive in Fallen Kingdom than it is in JP3. But I do love the Spinosaurus like a lot.
Yeah, right on.
I love the Spinosaurus. People hate on it, but I love it. Although they just found out that what new fossils discovered, how the Spinosaurus is and moved is really not what that movie depicts it to be at all. That is like pure monster now. It's like monster on the level of like Indominus Rex is like not real. Or even Velociraptors for that matter. Very small Velociraptors. Very small. The Archaeoraptors bigger like that. But Frank, do you have a ranking at all?
I definitely would put Jurassic Park, Jurassic World,
and then kind of blah, whatever.
And then it kind of falls apart after that. I guess, The Lost World, Fallen Kingdom, JP3. I guess that would be my.
Yeah. I saw somebody on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, put out where they said, hot take is that Jurassic Park is the best, which is not really a hot take.
No.
But, but the rest of them are all about on par with one another. They're all about 3-star films. Like for better or worse. Some of like the higher end of 3 or the lower end. But they're all just about in the same park as one another.
I definitely agree that Last World, Fallen Kingdom, and Jurassic Park 3 are kind of in the same.
They're in the same park, yeah.
On the same level. I think Jurassic Park and certainly is above, and Jurassic World even I would put on a higher plane than the other 3.
Yep.
That's actually why it's hard for me. It's apart from the Frank sucks at ranking things. It's just hard for me because they are kind of equally meh. So like, all right, yeah, this one's a little better than the other one, I guess, but like it's arbitrary at that point. They're all just kind of tied for worst.
They are all tied. It's like Star Wars for me. It's Star Wars as a franchise, and they're all tied. The end. Yeah. No, not really, but you know what I mean. Like they're all just about the same at a certain point, for better or for worse. So, but that's that second. What is your favorite dinosaur, Frank, from the Jurassic? Either from just life or from a Jurassic World franchise, Jurassic Park.
The T-Rex in Jurassic Park captured my just captivated me as a kid, right? And still holds a special place for me. So like that's the first flash that comes to my mind when you say Jurassic Park. I think of that T-Rex, just causing all kinds of trouble. So yeah, I think about that very, very easily. Do you have a favorite? You are much more knowledgeable about dinosaurs in general than I am. So.
Well, I think that it's so hard not to love the T-Rex, period. Yeah. Just even before Jurassic Park and after Jurassic Park. Although if you type in like realistic T-Rex, he's a chubby wubby, and it's hilarious. Like if you thought his little arms were small before, wait until you look up like what like his actual muscular structure would look like and stuff. No. It is so funny. It's like a little bit more akin to like the T-Rex from We're Back than Jurassic Park.
Oh.
He's or Barney for that matter, who's also a chubby wubby. I saw an article about like a lot of dinosaurs were probably very colorful the way that birds are, you know, and they have some fossilized feathers that show some colors and all this stuff and the one paleontologist was like, like Barney being a purple dinosaur is actually not as strange as you think it would be. If you think about all the colors of birds, not like our boring North American birds, but like real, like
real
South
birds.
American birds and African birds, parrots, things like that.
Sure.
No, my favorite from the Jurassic World franchise, Jurassic Park franchise, is the Dilophosaurus. I just like captured my imagination as a kid. The one with the frilly neck, the one that eats Newman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just
loved
that
one.
one.
That's a good choice.
Kid. Yeah, I think like if it doesn't default to the T-Rex, that's like my next follow up. That's always that's the one that I just like. I don't know why I like it so much necessarily. I just think it's cool.
Yeah,
and it's real, which is also I think that's a big thing for me as like a fan of dinosaurs in the first place. Like Velociraptors are like they're more monster than real dinosaur, and things like the Indoraptor and Indominus Rex. Those are not obviously real dinosaurs by any stretch of the imagination. But my favorite, if I have to say my favorite herbivore, would be the Stegosaurus. I love the Stegosaurus.
I always actually kind of liked the Stegosauri when I was a kid. I feel like I learned the most about dinosaurs when I was first in kindergarten. You learn about dinosaurs, that they existed, and then whenever in high school, and since kindergarten, I was always like, Stegosaurus is kind of what an interesting shape with the scales on the back and all that.
Yeah. Also,
and pterodactyl always captured my imagination.
Yeah,
too.
pterodactyls are cool. That sequence in Jurassic Park 3 is actually really cool.
That is cool.
It doesn't make any sense why there's a bird cage on an island that was designed to have them roam free, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
Nothing in that movie really needs to make sense.
No, it sure doesn't. But yeah, I actually have some original art on my wall from an old comic book called The Monster Trilogy, The Winged Terror, and it is just it is a pterodactyl coming out of the ground for some reason, destroying San Francisco.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Hey, did you ever read the books?
The Jurassic Park books?
Mm-hmm.
Read the first one, and it is wildly different from the movie.
So I've heard.
It's
I'm
good.
Curious, but...
It's good because Michael Crichton was a very good author.
Yeah.
But it is different. I could spoil some things for you, and how different they are.
Well, I'm curious about that and The Lost World, how different.
Lost World, I think I started when I was younger, and I never continued with it. Though I should go back to it. But Gennaro, the lawyer from Jurassic Park who dies in the film, he's a hero in the book. He's one of the good. And Malcolm, not a hero at all. Don't make it. So it is interesting how different it becomes pretty quickly. But the core of it is still there. But because it's Spielberg, that Dr. Grant learning to be a father thing, that's pure Spielberg.
Sure.
Because that's his big shtick in the early part of his career. For the first 20 years of his career, somebody's learning about a father-son relationship. That's the thing. They switched the genders of the kids in the movie. So Lex is older and Tim is younger in the movie, and that's reversed in the book. And Tim is the one that's a computer hacker, and Lex is I'm there to scream. And so it's
Gotcha.
Forward thinking Spielberg was this is not good. I don't like this. So so I would recommend it just because it's a good read, and things will surprise you because it's different.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That's so interesting. Those are books that I've always wanted to sort of drop in and read. So they've been on my list of things to read for so many years. I really need to get around to it.
Get around to reading, Frank.
Yeah.
Stop talking to me and read a book.
All right, I'm gonna go learn a book.
Learn a book, indeed.
Learn a book.
Frank, tell the people what they can learn about us.
Yeah. Before we sign off, I do want to say, obviously we said this last week too, but we're talking about things that don't ultimately matter in the big scope, in the big picture. They're fun things to distract ourselves with, but there are obviously very real things, very serious things happening in the world, with everything happening with COVID, obviously, and then more recently and in some ways more pressing. It's really come to everyone's attention as a nation, just the way that that Black people have not been treated with the equality that many of us would like to think that they have been for the last 400 years. And it's really coming to light, and it's important that it does, and it's important that whether you are Black or not, it's important that you educate yourself. In fact, it's even more important if you're not. Tim and I have. I know we've both made it a priority these days in our lives to make this something that we're educated about and informed about. So I want to urge everyone listening. I'm putting a couple of links in the show notes for some anti-racism resources for white people, as well as ways you can help, no matter who you are, and no matter what your station in life, no matter what your income is, there are ways you can help, whether it's signing a petition, whether that's giving a donation, whether that's going to a protest in ways to stay safe when you do that. There are all kinds of ways that we can help, whether that's just posting on social media because that's your your platform and you've got people who you have their attention there, it's important that we educate ourselves and realize that this topic doesn't go away when it's not a trending topic anymore.
Yeah, that's very true, Frank. But I think it's not just so much even just about educating, but about acting on something. And if that means acting if that means even acting with your voice, with your social media platform, with your pocketbook or with your wallet, or like there's a lot of ways to act that are not that don't involve marching. That like if that's not something you're comfortable with, there's letter writing and email writing and hashtagging and speaking up for others when you see complicit racism occurring. Those things all matter, and so it is excellent to educate yourself, but then you have to do something with that education. You don't just go to school and then sit on your couch forever.
That's right.
You do something with the knowledge you've earned, and so that goes for this as well.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad you said that. I'm gonna also put in the show notes a tweet that you sent me from Taika Waititi.
Oh yeah, it was good.
That very humorously and an entertaining way illustrates that point. So I'm going to stick that in the show notes as well. But you can find the show notes at beerwithgeeks.com. That's where you can find every episode of the show, and you can always check the show notes there if they're not already in your podcast player. We just want to make sure that we're talking about something that does ultimately matter after having spoken about the fun stuff that doesn't really matter in the big picture. But we absolutely believe that Black Lives Matter. But all of that said, please do check that out at beerwithgeeks.com. You can also find other episodes of the show there. You can find our other podcasts at thoughtbubbleaudio.com. You can find this and all of our podcasts wherever podcasts are found, at Apple Podcasts, at Google, Stitcher, Spotify, all the great places that podcasts are found. Please rate and review us if that is your if that's something you want to do to help us a little bit. Certainly, everyone knows that it's been talked about a lot that podcast listenership is a little bit down these days, with people not commuting as much, just across the industry. And so one thing you can do to help us is rate or review us in iTunes. Subscribe if you haven't already, because all of those things signal to iTunes to sort of include us in the algorithm and helps the show get discovered by more people. You can also support us if you've got a buck or two to spare. Patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio is the place you can go to do that and to help us continue to make these shows. So I think that's all about all we've got to say. Thank you for talking to me about dinosaurs. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you for talking to me about dinosaurs, because I will always talk about dinosaurs. I'm actually I told my wife, she's gardening. She's a big gardener, and so I told her that every time she tells me something about gardening, I'm going to tell her something about comic books. But I think I'm going to extend that into dinosaurs.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm going to do it.
I like it.
I'm going to do it. It's going to be great. Yeah. Anyway, Frank, this was a real pleasure. Thanks, Dad. That was my deep cut from Jurassic. That was my deep cut line from Nedry from Jurassic World. But anyway, Frank, one thing, I even to this day, there's that Barbasol can in Jurassic Park. If you, I used to go into stores. And you pick up the Barbasol can and take the bottom and try to spin it open to see if I could take home some dinosaur embryos. Nice. Turns out I can't. Still doesn't work. No. But if anybody wants to send me one of those, I would love it. So, yeah. Anyway, good stuff, Frank.
Solid.
Yeah, indeed. Well, until next time,
cheers.